Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to the Hashtag Analysis Hockey Podcast team. We're going to drop the puck on a variety of issues around the NHL just in time for the 2017-2018 NHL season. We're going to start you off tonight with the NHL's top 50 players right now as voted by the Hockey News. Well, the top two are pretty obvious selections of the two best players in the game. At number one, to the surprise of not very many people at all, we have Connor McDavid. The recent number one overall pick in the 2015 NHL Draft won the Hart Trophy and the Art Ross Trophy this past season, leading the NHL with 100 points in 82 games. And he supplants Sidney Crosby, who comes in, surprisingly, in second place. He's coming off back-to-back Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 2016 and 2017 NHL seasons. So what do we think of McDavid actually supplanting Sid the Kid, or Sid the Adult now, rather, in just his second NHL season?
I mean, it's not, some might say it's a little bit of a surprise just given Sidney Crosby's track record. I mean, some people think they should go, on the grand scale of things, not just off someone's recent success. So I could see why some would be shocked that McDavid's number one. But to me, I mean, I'd take McDavid over Crosby, so I could see why he'd be ranked number one. But I also do see the people that put Crosby above McDavid simply because he has led his team to back-to-back Stanley Cups, and he does have that long resume of success, gold medals, all his individual awards and team awards. So I do see why people would put him ahead, but it is a bit of a toss-up for me. But I'd take McDavid on my team, and he did have the better season last year, so it's good to see him rewarded for it.
Now, if Crosby was in the prime of his career, which one would you have or take for your team?
That's a fair point.
That is
10
a good point. You see, and his concussion issues, McDavid's, he's the faster player, and he was pretty electrifying. Like Crosby, he obviously puts up lots of points, scores goals as well, and he's good defensively as well. But
we know exactly what Crosby is.
Yeah,
we don't know the potential of Connor McDavid.
Yeah,
yet.
We don't know. Is this his ceiling, or is there more to come? And Crosby, he did put his best seasons were even better than what McDavid put up this year, and it also was a few years ago. So the NHL scoring has changed a bit. Scoring has gone down over the years, but it's not to the extent of the old eras of hockey where when Gretzky was playing, when the scoring was that much inflated. But it is an interesting question to see,
and it's hard to compare between eras too. I mean, McDavid's a product of the modern NHL where systems are so defensively oriented. Crosby is a product coming out of the dead puck era, out of the lockout, where he was able to score 100 points as an 18-year-old right off the bat, just like that. And players were adjusting to the way referees handled new penalty calls, and despite there being a decade of difference, I mean, they're both just incredible players, incredible talents. Crosby's has the track record, like we said. We still haven't seen what McDavid can do, and to think that he hasn't even hit his ceiling yet in just his second season, it's hard to believe.
So in his first season, Crosby put up 102 points as a rookie. And second season, he put up his career high of 120 points.
Yeah, so if you look at even the two seasons, the difference, putting up 120 points is pretty impressive by a rookie.
And what did McDavid have this year?
100 points, 30 goals, 70 assists, plus 27. All the plus minus is not necessarily a great stat. But he had 100 points in 82 games. And Crosby rather played 79 games, so his point per game was way higher, obviously, but and you also have to factor in, or you could factor in, the conferences and divisions they played in, because the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, was a better conference this year, which is a bit of a change from the past, because especially when you look at who McDavid was playing, he had Vancouver and other teams like that he was going up against often, and even Colorado being in the Western Conference, who was remarkably bad. So there are those, there are those factors as well. But
getting a healthy dose of the worst team in 20 years is going to inflate your numbers a little bit.
Yeah, and then having also teams like Vancouver in there as well who weren't very good. And whereas Crosby's in the Metro, which has teams like the Capitals, who are always a good regular season team, and then even the Rangers, who are solid, and then the Islanders they turned it on at the end of the year once they changed coaches. So there's lots of good teams, and even going up against other East teams like Toronto and Ottawa, Montreal, they're always, they put up a good fight as well. So, I mean, there are decent teams in the East that you got to factor in. But, I mean, going back to the original question and the whole rankings, I do see why Crosby is number two, but to me, it's really a toss-up. I mean, you can't go wrong with either two.
I think I'd still take McDavid.
Yeah,
if Crosby was in his prime,
You
just
know-
based off speed.
Yeah, and the way the game's going too.
Just smaller, quicker, more agile.
And you look at guys like Crosby makes guys better as well, but McDavid also made guys like Maroon better.
Yeah, Patrick Maroon becoming a 27-goal scorer.
Yeah, whereas you look at him in Anaheim, he wasn't horrible, but he was just a depth kind of power forward grinder that could get you a couple goals.
But Crosby's never had a line mate, really. He's had Kunitz.
Yeah, Kunin.
But other than that, who's he with?
Pascal Dupuis.
He kind of
Exactly.
seems like he needs not good players
Brandon
to make him
Rust?
better. And he does, yeah,
It's like he needs a challenge of elevating
yeah,
not so good wingers.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, both good guys,
Yeah.
both good players.
So after our two all-world centers, in third place, who managed to blend in seamlessly with Guy Boucher's new system, is Erik Karlsson, captain of the Ottawa Senators. What do we think of him?
I mean, in my opinion, I think it's a good fit. To me, he's the best defenseman in the league. And so to me, I do believe he's the third best player just because of his dynamic ability. Like when there's guys you look at that can change the whole outlook of the game, the way they can carry the puck and have an impact on the game. Like the Senators, they aren't the most exciting of teams and they're a pretty flat team. And I've watched them without Karlsson on the team and their power play has been just horrendous without him. There's one game that counted 5 attempts it took them to get into the zone without Karlsson. So you just see what he's capable of doing with an average team, let alone being on a good team, what he'd be able to do. And his season this year, it took Brent Burns to have like a standout career year to knock him off, whereas Karlsson just had some might say a down year offensively because he was in a defensive system, but his defensive game came around and turned out to be really good, or at least good. Like may not be really good, but turned out to be a very adequate.
Above average.
Yeah, it was not like you're putting him out there and worrying that he's going to turn the puck over. Like Guy Boucher turned him into a complete defenseman, and he really got the recognition, especially in the playoffs. So to me, I think it's a well-earned spot.
What I find interesting is they had the Norris Trophy winner lower than the two runner-ups.
Yeah, that is interesting, Alex. But to me, I do agree with that rankings. To me, I would have given Karlsson the Norris last year, and also Burns played parts of the season at forward and scored some goals this year as a forward.
Okay, well, Carlson's pretty much a forward half
Yeah.
the time anyways, so
Both players are pretty well fourth forwards on their team, so I mean you can make that argument for either one of them.
Yeah, but to me, Karlsson's defensive game's better, in my opinion. Blocks more shots, and he's also he's not your typical shot blocker. The way he does it in ways that lets him jump into the offense. It's more standing block shots, not your typical sliding block shots. So it's not that typical, but it's just such more dynamic. You don't see Brent Burns blocking as many shots.
it's because he's about, I don't know, a meter thick, so he can just stand in front of it. Unlike Karlsson, he's 160 pounds or something.
Tell that to Burns' missing teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he's got less of that body to get in front of the block shots.
They probably all disappear into his beard anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty solid top three right there. At number 4, last year's Art Ross Trophy winner, Patrick Kane of the Chicago Blackhawks. Pretty straightforward, one of the most dynamic offensive players, and he shows you that size doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's another good ranking. I mean, he had a great season 2 years ago, had another solid season this year. Playoffs are another story. Just Chicago had a bit of a whole stinker of a playoff, if you want to call it that. They had a horrible playoffs to put out.
You could say
Bluntly.
they might want to sweep that series under the rug.
Oh.
Yeah, especially their offense. When Patrick Kane isn't known for his defense, he's known for his offense. So he struggled offensively in the playoffs, but he had another good season. And again, he makes players around him better. When you look at Artemi Panarin, and it'll be interesting to see, just as a little sidetrack, to see what Panarin can do this year in Columbus, because we'll see if he's just a product of playing with someone good like Kane, or if he can do it on his own. But with that said, Kane is at number 4 is it's not one that jumps off the page as being bad. There's third in the point, or tied for second in points last year. So
Yeah, he only put up 89 points this year, whereas last year he had 106.
yeah, you say only like it's a bad thing, so it just shows the quality of player. Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah,
Still,
but no,
big drop off though.
yeah, drop off. Yeah, last year he had that ridiculous streak going. Like he had a career year last year.
Especially with Chicago winning the Western Conference this year, it's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah,
At number 5, first goalie on the list, and probably the most obvious choice, is Carey Price of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, probably that sounds right. I'd probably put him above Patrick Kane just based on how much his team relies on him. Just
Yeah.
how amazing he is. Plays for Team Canada. I mean, Montreal kind of sucks, but we won't get into that right now. But just the way he can carry his team is just amazing.
yeah. I mean, I could see him going for because it was pretty apparent, not last year, but the year before that. Without Carey Price, this team is not even really competitive. Like Mike Condon was fed to the Wolves pretty much 2 years ago, and he was a rookie goaltender that, as you saw, it was just like he was like a little kid going into the deep end of a pool, and he just got destroyed. He started off decent, but you could tell it just took a toll on him. So that just shows Carey Price is the Montreal Canadiens, and so it really does show that he is an all-world goaltender and has played well on the international levels. So he's just, even in juniors, he's been a winner his whole career, except in the NHL when it gets to the playoffs. But part of that's not his fault. I mean, he doesn't have much in front of him in terms of offense.
Part of that one down year is because they had PK in front of him, and he's just terrible. I'm glad they traded him. He's just terrible.
Great move by Bergevin.
Yeah.
His breath has since gotten a lot mintier down in Nashville.
Thanks to Listerine.
And at number 6, and this is a surprising rise up the standings considering he wasn't rated by the Hockey News in the top 50 last year, is Sergei Bobrovsky of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Star goaltender, one of the highest paid goalies in the league, and coming off a Vezina Trophy campaign.
Yeah, Jay Onwright's favorite player there, Bobrovsky. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, a lot of Columbus fans will be happy that he's getting recognition because he seems like he obviously had a few down years, but he's gone back to form, and it seems like he may not have gotten as much recognition, but he had a good season, and Columbus had a good bounce back year as well, and he was a big part of it. He was a Vezina Trophy candidate there, and he put up a good season. So yeah, I do think it's a fitting one. It might be a little high in my opinion when you look at some of the other guys that are below, but he certainly is one of the top goaltenders in the league going off last year. But it could have a few question marks about being ranked that high.
Do you think Columbus does as well as they did this past year?
Absolutely
or
not.
just because they got lucky during that win streak?
They did get a hot streak. They'll still be a good team. I don't know if they'll be as good. And next year will be interesting when you look at there's quite a few teams that could regress a little bit. They still might make the playoffs, but there's some teams that went on some hot streaks last year, got pretty good. But I don't know if they'll put up as many points as last year.
I mean, their goal differential is plus 54. I don't know if that's just because they're scoring a lot or
That's
Bob's
ridiculous.
just standing on his head.
16-game win streak, too, tied for second longest in NHL history.
Yeah,
That's got to speak for something.
They got hot. John Tortorella was able to turn that team around after the year before that.
At number 7, we have Evgeny Malkin of the Pittsburgh Penguins, probably one of the top 3 centers in the world right now, and coming off back-to-back Stanley Cups alongside Crosby.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that there's a second-line center that's ranked that highly, but it shows the depth that the Pittsburgh Penguins got down the middle there. And it seems like if Crosby ever does go out, Malkin elevates his game. So he is a game breaker, and as well, he's just a big body that's hard to knock off the puck, and he's a good player. So to me, number 7 is a fitting spot, and to me, that's why Pittsburgh's lucky to have those two, Crosby and Malkin, because Malkin would be by far almost any team's number 1 center, and Pittsburgh's got him as a number 2 center, which just comes like a matchup nightmare for coaches. So
yeah, but he doesn't pass to Phil Kessel.
Get Phil the puck.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
that's why they're not doing as well as they could.
That's why
only 2 Stanley Cups.
That's why they're not going 16-0 every year. You just got to get Phil the puck.
3-peat for Phil. At number 8, we have Austin Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is just Leafs Nation is going to love this one, because Matthews, just into his rookie season, scores 40 goals, finishes the season with 69 points, and most importantly, leading the Leafs to the playoffs with a young core of William Nylander and Mitch Marner. Thoughts on Matthews, everybody?
Yeah, well, to me, it's a little high. I don't know if I'd put him 8. He's a good player, and he's had the 1 year, but I think that's a little high. It's not all about offense, but even when it comes to offense, he's 20th in the league in points. Phil Kessel put up more points than him. Obviously, Matthews better defensively, and he's a center, but to me, I wouldn't put him that high. There's better guys offensively, and then defensively, I don't think his defensive game is enough to warrant him to put him at that high, and he was in a checking role part of the season. He wasn't even their number 1 center, so, he's definitely... Next year, he could be in that spot, but I think number 8 might be a little high for him.
Well, he was tied for second in goals, and he started off kind of sheltered and didn't get much ice time in the first little bit of the season. But after that, he kind of revved it up. More defensive player, great face-offs, just phenomenal. I don't think you could say a bad thing about him.
And when you consider last year that McDavid was in the top 10 NHL players as a rookie, Matthews finds himself in the same place with room to climb.
McDavid's McDavid, though.
Matthews is Matthews.
Yeah, but McDavid's better than Matthews.
So this has him as the 4th best center in the NHL. Do you agree with that?
No.
Who would you put in front of him on this top 50 list of centers?
Are we going off of last year or what's
right now?
Like
right
just
now.
like who would I list people I'd
Yeah.
take?
Who would you rather have on your team than Austin Matthews right now for the upcoming year?
Who would pass him in your rankings?
I'd take McDavid. I'd take
It's
Crosby, and they're like Malkin, and there's some guys that are debatable that have put up some good seasons. And like when you look at some guys like Tavares, I don't know if I take Tavares ahead of him, but Tavares is a good player as well. And there's
So you wouldn't
So
take Tavares above him. That's what you
it's
just said.
debatable. Like to me, I'd still like I'd take him for the potential. That's my main thing. Why I'd be interested in taking Matthews, but just going off last year, that's the thing that'd be
So
difficult.
This is based off this upcoming season, this top 50
And if I
list.
just had one year, like it doesn't matter what their potential is, one season.
If you're going to play pickup hockey tomorrow and you got to pick one center below Matthews in this ranking over Matthews, who's it going to be? Beer
Well,
league tomorrow night.
Anytime now.
It's a
See,
tough.
you're thinking too much. You don't know the
I don't have the
answer.
list in front of
I
me.
think you're wrong.
Like to me, he's a good player. I just feel like 8's high. Like I'm not like, and I have a hard time justifying being fourth, especially like I'd like to hear why he should be ranked fourth in your
Well,
opinion.
who else would you take over him as a center?
Well, to me, like
Besides Crosby,
there's-
Malkin.
like Backstrom put up a good season as well. He's obviously playing with some good guys, but I don't know. To me, it's just a little high at where he is in his career. Like he's still got some stuff to prove, and seeing if he can, put it out as all those points at a number one line role.
Keep in mind that he was also playing with Zach Hyman.
Crosby's played
The
with guys
entire,
like Kunitz and Dupuis.
well, he's not Sidney Crosby. Well, not yet, at least. Zach Hyman all year and Connor Brown for half the year. He didn't get put with Nylander until the second half, really.
Yeah, but he's sheltered. Like you got like guys like Kadri that were sheltering him and stuff like that. Like I don't know. Like to me, it's just a little high. That's my opinion. Others might differ, but that's just to me, it's a little high.
You still haven't given me an answer on who do you take over Matthews for a
For your
center.
pickup game tomorrow, who are you going to take over Matthews? It's not McDavid, Crosby, or Malkin.
To me, there's like Backstrom would be up there. Depend. Like I don't know. To me, it's just
Silky mitts.
like to me, just being at 8th. Like I'd have to look closer for the centers, but to me, 8th is too high for the rankings, in my opinion. Like I don't know, I'd have to put more thought into it to look at all the centers and break it down. But to me, I don't know. But it is like there's lots of. It's interesting looking at the centers. There's still lots of good quality centers, but there's quite a bit of a drop off after the McDavid and Crosby at this point right now.
Well, obviously, those are like the best centers of all time,
I
pretty
know.
much.
It's just interesting. I used to have like Malkin as well. Malkin would be up there, but we've mentioned he's third. But there used to be the days of Getzlaf being up there. He's dropped off though. But those days, kind of like a bit of a change in the guard in the NHL to see the next era of superstars coming up.
So what you're saying is Matthews is the fourth best center in the NHL.
I mean, looking as he might be, but I'd have to take a closer look. It's hard to see. Like this guy's better offensively, but I'd have to come back to it.
I take that as a win for me.
All right, we're not keeping score here.
Thankfully, for safety purposes, we're broadcasting outside of Toronto. Number 9, Victor Hedman of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Tampa Bay, what a season. Fresh off of an Eastern Conference final the year before, Stanley Cup final in 2015, losing in 6 games to Chicago. They missed the playoffs by 1 point, with missing Steven Stamkos for almost the entire season. Victor Hedman, Norris Trophy finalist, 70-point season. What a beast.
Just a monster. I think I'd take Victor Hedman than any other defenseman right now on my team. Just because I think he can do pretty much anything that any other defenseman can do. And he's just a monster. Like 6'6", long wingspan. I'd just take him in a heartbeat.
He'd be my second choice. I'd take Carlson first, as I said, just for his speed and skating, he'd break out, like his offensive ability. Like Hedman put up, this could be his career year, his best offensive output. It might not 'cause he's got a good group of guys playing with him. He's got, Kucherov, Stamkos that he can dish the puck to, and a bunch of other guys, Johnson, Palat. Well, he's got some good guys to play with. But to me, the difference between Carlson and Hedman is their skating, and Hedman's obviously a bit better physically, or could be a lot better physically. But to me, it's just Carlson's got that extra gear when it comes to a game, and the way he can kind of just put a team on his shoulders and carry them to victory. But to me, I would take Hedman over Burns because Hedman's kind of got that complete game that if you want a two-way guy that can bring the offense and defense, he's your guy. So yeah, where he's ranked to me makes sense. Like to me, he's the second best defenseman in the league.
Carlson and Hedman, 2009 World Junior Defense Partners. Imagine that in the NHL today. Carlson's contract's up in 2 years. Tampa Bay, anybody? On to number 10, Brent Burns of the San Jose Sharks. Definitely best beard in the league by far. And the reigning Norris Trophy winner.
Yeah, to me, he's the third best. So like in terms of where they got the defenseman ranked, I mean, it makes sense. Number 10, I could see where, I could see the ranking there. He put up 76 points last year, so all he brought was the offense. The defense, he was still decent, but he led the league in giveaways. So, he was a little careless with the puck. And at times, the coaching staff, Pete DeBoer, put him up at forward. So, his defense game is a little suspect, but he did bring the offense like Carlson did last year. So, he's good offensively, but to me, his defensive game doesn't warrant him to be in the top 2, so I think the third spot is a good spot for him.
And that rounds out your top 10 of the NHL's top 50 players right now, presented by the Hockey News. Rounding out the top 50 are a number of the usual suspects, but we're going to look at some of the surprises that have made their way up into the top 50, or whether they were not rated, or whether they've climbed way higher than their previous ranking from last year. So let's go through the gauntlet here. We have number 15, Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets. Not rated last year, breaks out for an 82-point season with the Jets with super rookie Patrick Laine. Scheifele's a bit of a surprise here considering his breakout, but when you think about it, you could see it coming. 7th overall pick in 2011, coming up on a young, up-and-coming Jets team with a ton of offensive firepower.
Yeah, well, if you just look at the numbers, 82 points, he's up there in the league. I don't see why he wouldn't be that high.
Yeah, I think where it comes as a shock, just the name Mark Scheifele. He's obviously known, but he's kind of not that known around people. He knows, he's not a household name, but he is now. But I remember when he's drafted as well, he's kind of considered a little bit of a reach by the Jets there. And I remember the Senators had the pick right before him and took advantage of that, and we see how that worked out. Scheifele's gone on to look like he's going to have a great career playing alongside Patrick Laine. So, 82 points in 79 games, above a point per game, 50 assists is a great total, 7th in the league in points. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise when you see the name. So, it's one that kind of jumps off the page at first when you're looking. But then when you kind of put some more thought into it, it does make sense. But, yeah, so he had a great season last year. So, it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of follow that up and see if he's worthy of that high ranking.
At number 24, Scheifele's line mate Patrick Laine, fellow rookie with Austin Matthews, finished with 36 goals, one of the finalists for Rookie of the Year, and could have the ceiling of a Mike Bossy or a Brett Hull at 6'5".
Yeah, he'll be a great player to watch going, like him and Matthews going at it. Their careers will be fun to watch their careers progress. It's kind of like having Ovechkin and Crosby back in the day, watching them go head to head and toe to toe and see, if it flips back and forth. Because there was a time, Ovechkin was better than Crosby, then Crosby was better than Ovechkin, going back and forth. So it'll be interesting to see if Laine has a resurgence and for a couple seasons is considered better than Matthews. To me, Laine started off to be a bit better at some points of the season, but Matthews showed that he's the better player. But watching Laine, you see lots of Ovechkin's game in him, the way just the big body that he can score and the way he often just kind of lines up at that point for his one-timer. You see a lot of similarities between him and Ovechkin. So he had a great season. So he's a little lower, but there are a lot of great players. So it'll be interesting to see what Laine can do next year.
Yeah, I don't see the debate between Laine and Matthews at all over the years. I do think that Laine is going to put up more goals in his career than Matthews, but I don't think there's even going to be a debate between Matthews and Laine, just like Crosby and Ovechkin. I don't see it.
Who do you think will have the higher goal total season? Not necessarily over the careers, but do you think that when you look at their single season goal totals, who do you think will have a higher total?
Probably Laine.
Laine, yeah.
Obviously.
Okay. Obviously.
There's really no question about it. You're talking about a high-scoring winger versus a complete center.
Yeah, but Matthews is a shooter. But I do agree. I think Laine will, but Matthews is a guy that likes to shoot the puck, and you never know. You never know also if Babs finally, puts all his guys on one line. You never know what the ceiling could be for Matthews. He could put up a 50-goal season, if he puts Marner and Nylander on a line with him, get a true passer instead of Brown or Hyman. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. Scheifele with Laine, and then if you get Matthews with someone.
It's almost like you could throw a Patrick Marleau on a Matthews line and see what happens.
We'll see what Marleau can do in Toronto this year.
All 3 years of him at $6.25 million per year.
Third year, he could be on Robidaw Island.
Long-term injured reserve. At number 25, we have Jack Eichel of the Buffalo Sabres. And Eichel seems to be the forgotten man of the past 2 drafts, considering the amount of times people have thrown around the word generational talent, with McDavid going first in 2015, Eichel right behind. And then Austin Matthews missing the draft cutoff for 2015 by 3 days. And there was talk at that point that Eichel could potentially fall to 3rd if Matthews were eligible for the 2015 draft. And then when you have Matthews and Laine coming along in 2016, Eichel seems to be kind of the 4th young rising star.
Yeah, to me, I don't see the whole generational talent thing with Eichel. He's obviously a great player. He's had some injury history. But to me, when you generational talent is for a generational player, and you also can't have like 3-4 generational players from the same generation. Like you can't have McDavid and Matthews if you want to put him in that conversation. You can't have like Eichel in there as well. You don't have 3 generational players typically from the span of like 2 years. So he has had good seasons playing in Buffalo. You know, he hasn't had the greatest people around him, but he still has had some decent guys to play with. But he's had some bad luck with injuries, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do in a full season. Hopefully that he doesn't get injured, but he's a good player, but to me he's just not that generational talent.
I like where he's ranked though. I think that's perfect for him right now. Yeah. Have you ever seen him play? Like I've seen him play live a couple times, and he just changes the game when he's on the ice.
I've seen him play live once, and he often also tears up the Senators quite a few times. Like I remember watching Derek Roy play the Senators, and he would also kill the Senators frequently. So going back to Eichel's rookie year when he's just lit up the Senators, I just had flashbacks of that, and I was getting ready to get destroyed by Eichel for years to come as a Senators fan.
I think he's gonna have a big year this year because he's been injured last year.
Yeah, he started off the season with an ankle injury. I believe it was a high ankle sprain.
19 games lost to a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, so to me, if he can stay healthy, I mean, he could. You never know. He's a goal scorer, so he could be competing for 40 goals. You never know.
Like an injury like that will linger throughout the year.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what he's capable of.
Most guys, they get back, but they're not 100%.
And even despite that, he put up 57 points in 61 games. His points per game average was 11th league wide.
Yeah, like he's up there. He just needs to stay healthy. That's his main thing. And then you never know, he could help let Buffalo compete for a playoff spot.
At number 30, another notable young star on the top 50 list for this year is Matt Murray of the Pittsburgh Penguins, the man who sent Fleury to Vegas, fresh off back-to-back Stanley Cups, and he's just past eligible for the Calder Trophy.
Do we know where he is listed in terms of goalies? Like, is he the second goalie listed?
No, there's Bob and Price, and I think Holtby probably.
He is listed at third goalie right now.
Really?
See, I don't agree with that at all. I'd probably...
Holtby's not above...
Pardon me, fourth.
Okay,
fourth. Braden Holtby at 13. So we have the 3 Vezina Trophy finalists, and then at number 4 on goalies, we have Murray.
I mean, if we're going off last year, I feel like Dubnyk had a good season last year. He kind of went under the radar. Cause I feel like Dubnyk in Edmonton just wasn't good. It wasn't a good fit. So I feel like he kind of gets a bad rap for that. But he's been, ever since getting to Minnesota, he's been a good goalie. So I feel like you kind of got to give, his desserts. He's put up good numbers in Minnesota, so you got to give him credit there.
There's also Lundqvist.
Yeah.
But he also had a rough year this year.
Yeah, Granta there's debate between who's the backup now there. So, I mean, Lundqvist is kind of starting to fall off there. New York's kind of let him down. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a question one because he didn't even play. Like he split time with Fleury. They went back and forth. It's a bit of a tough one. He had a great playoffs. He kind of saved them there against Ottawa because Fleury was starting to struggle and he just came in and shut the door for the most part. But yeah, to me it's a little high. But he certainly is one of the top goalies in the league. It'll be interesting to see if he can build off this season. Interesting though, I believe he said something like he doesn't feel like he's won much or won anything already, even though he's got 2 cups.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to a full season. So just splitting games with Fleury.
He's had a leg injury in the playoffs, I believe it was. So it'll be interesting to see if that hampers him at all, if any other injuries kind of pop up there, and if his body can handle the season. But Pittsburgh does have some good goalies in the pipeline as well, with Tristan Jarry. So it's not like they've got nothing, but they've got some question marks if he goes down to see if Jarry is a legitimate goalie.
And with Antti Niemi signed as the backup now, Murray is the unquestioned number 1 goalie.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he's able to react to the pressures and the workload of playing 60, maybe even 70 games in a full season.
Yeah.
Other notables on the top 50 list include newest New York Rangers addition Kevin Shattenkirk, a surprise addition there, considering he wasn't rated last year, and with a big switch to the Rangers as an offensive threat beside Captain Ryan McDonough. He's a surprise at 34. I could see how he could crack the top 50, given his good contract year and given the expectations placed on him with his new contract. Other notables, David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins, 70-point breakout with the Bruins in just his 3rd season, and still in the midst of negotiations for his 2nd deal with Boston.
Yeah, so going back to that, there's Kevin Shattenkirk. He had a good offensive season there. He struggled a little bit in Washington, but he finished 4th in the league in points for defensemen. He was a minus player, but again, plus minus is a questionable stat. But he is not known, obviously it's well known he's not the greatest defensively. He is a offensive guy. So, yeah, I mean, it could be a little high given his one dimension, but he could have a good season there playing with some good guys like McDonough and Shea. They got a good young defenseman. So
In the playoffs,
Yeah.
though, he was just noticeably bad.
yeah, I
Just
got like
one of their
Washington.
worst defensemen.
Yeah, it
Just
wasn't
a
a
healthy
good
dose of Brooks Orpik will do to you.
Yeah, like Washington wasn't a good fit for him there. It just didn't work out. Could have been Trott's system there. He's not known to having a really an offensive system. Like going back to Nashville. Nashville was never known for their offense. So it could have just been not the best fit for him. But Alain Vigneault is known for his offense. So we could see how he does there.
Even against the Toronto in that series, he was just brutal.
Yeah, he didn't
So,
see much. It seemed like Nate Schmidt had a better series than him, and Nate Schmidt's now in Vegas.
Yep.
Other notables, and this is a source of hometown pride for us here. Mark Stone at number 48 of the Ottawa Senators, not rated in the top 50 last year. Enjoyed a run with Erik Karlsson and the rest of the Senators to the Eastern Conference Final, coming within a double overtime goal of the Stanley Cup Final. One of the best two-way wingers in the league right now. Stone comes in at number 48.
Yeah, to me, it's not a bad ranking. I mean, he struggled with concussions a little bit last year, even going back to before the season. He got a little bit of a knock to the head there, and then he kind of got lit up there by Trouba as well. That had concussion season. So, yeah, he's dealt with a few injuries last year, so he's kind of on and off. Had a little bit of a slow stretch, but even when his offense isn't going, his defense is there, and he's like just a takeaway machine. So, to me, he's a very underrated winger. Like, he's not a household name, but when you get to watch him play, he kind of does just all the stuff right. You know, he works hard and he gets good on the forecheck and gets some turnovers, and he can score as well. He's got some decent offense there to be like a 60-point scoring winger. So not necessarily a top winger, but he's gonna be those one underrated guys that when he's on your team, you'll notice all the good stuff he does. He had a little bit of a down playoff though. He didn't do too much, but yeah, hopefully he'll bounce back next year. He did finish second in the Calder Trophy voting a couple of years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago. Right behind Aaron Ekblad. So he's been shown he's about a consistent 60-point guy. I mean, the rookie, I believe he had 50, 60 points. So that's about where he is as a player, but it's not a bad player to have, a guy that can put up 60 points and be good in his own end defensively and get a bunch of takeaways.
Yeah, I'm looking at his hero chart right now, and it does show him as comparing to a first-line winger. It does show him as a first-line winger, and he's better in almost all the categories than the archetype, as they call it. So definitely a first-line winger.
Yeah, to me, I didn't even notice that with the hero chart, but to me, he's one of those guys, like he's not going to be that guy that you see that's like profiled with those top-end guys with like Kane and Tarasenko. He's not that flashy goal-scoring guy. He's that guy that kind of is a complete guy that'll put up 60 points and will be solid defensively. There won't be a liability out there. Like when there's a couple minutes left in the game, you need to shut down a game, he's going to be out there because he's going to be working hard, and he's going to put the pressure on there and get his stick on the puck and get the puck out of the zone.
Always poke checking too.
Yeah, always poke checking. He's got a good
pucks.
stick there. The small blade he's got there too. He doesn't even use that big of a blade.
Leading the league in takeaways almost every year.
Yeah, he's typically by a decent margin too. He's got a good nose for the puck.
And looking through the rest of the top 50, you see a lot of notable stars that you'd expect to see there. You go through the list, you see guys like Braden Holtby, Jonathan Taves, Patrice Bergeron, Nicholas Backstrom. You got guys like Brad Marchand, so the Boston Bruins, who broke out with 85 points this year. I could consider him a bit of a surprise, considering how he shattered his career highs while still being able to play the role of pest.
Yeah, to me, Brad Marchand, I mean, he wasn't necessarily a coming out party, but even the World Cup of Hockey, he scored that huge goal for Canada to get them that victory in the gold medal game, and then or the World Championship game, whatever you may want to call it, but in the final. And then he had a great season this year as well. And yeah, he's still being able to play that full game. He plays on an edge. He often goes over it with some questionable play, but he's that guy. It's not like he got away from his game, which is that pest. He still was able to be a pest and put up 85 points. So he's kind of a guy that doesn't get as much respect around the league. Part of it being because of the way he plays. He's kind of gone on a lot of people's bad lists, so they don't want to give him the credit he deserves. But he's a guy, 1 goal off 40 goals, but you can't ignore that.
I hate him so much.
Yeah.
He's such a pest.
Yeah, I know. I've
It's the
seen.
worst to play against.
Yeah, he's one of those guys I feel like I don't like playing him, but if he's on your team, he's a guy you're gonna like. He's that pest that you hate to play against. But if he's on your team, you're gonna like him.
The kind of guy you love to have on your team and you hate to play against.
Yeah, there's lots of guys like that in the league.
Marchand checks in at number 23 on the list this year, which is a big jump. Last year he was ranked number 45, though, so you could tell he was scratching the surface. One of the more notable additions is Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators, ranked number 37 last year, and he actually takes a slight drop at 45. But he really raised his profile for the Nashville Predators playing the Stanley Cup Final for the first time.
Yeah, to me, I mean, that he's just part of that unreal decor they got there in Nashville. So part of it could just be the fact that he dropped a bit. They just got so many good guys. That if he was on another team that say they didn't have as many good guys, he'd be that guy that drives the offense and everything like that. He would maybe put up a few more points, but he's got guys like Ellis, Ekholm, Subban, Josi. They got to share the puck and everything like that. So he's kind of, he's not getting all the puck all the time. Whereas Carlson, Burns, they're always getting the puck. They're always giving the breakout passes. So to me, I mean, I could see him being higher. He's pretty underrated. In my opinion, he is their best defenseman. So yeah.
Yeah, he still got 50 points in 72 games.
Yeah. At 12 goals, 37 assists. I mean, it wasn't a bad offensive year. He was solid. Like, that's typically considered a good offensive season. He's good defensively too.
Yeah, I'm still surprised that Montreal didn't get Josi in the Weber and Subban trade. I'm still shocked that they got Weber instead of Josi.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like they wanted that. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they'd take that trade, or if Nashville would be willing to give up that much for Subban. Because yeah, Josi, like, Weber was dropping off, and he's a defensive defenseman. He still does put up offense, but his contract's horrible, and he's a slower guy. Like, his foot speed's gonna drop off. So Josi's just a better defenseman. So yeah, to me, he could be rated higher. I'm not sure where he'd rank among the defensemen in that article, but to me, he's in the top tier defenseman in my opinion.
And at a $4 million contract for several more years, he's going to be a bargain. He's going to be one of the league's brightest young stars on a bargain contract.
Yeah, they're going to have to get rid of some defensemen there when they all have to be paid. Ellis is on a good contract. I think Ekholm is as well. And then, they got a good value decor there.
And with $9 million going to PK Subban, there'll definitely be some changes coming when contracts are up.
Yeah, Ellis might be the one to go.
Yeah, you can say the same thing for every team around the league. Everybody has good contracts, bad contracts, star players who are up for renewal.
Yeah, they signed him to a 7-year deal, which average annual value of $4 million, which is unreal.
When's it end?
2019, 2020.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they've got good value for the time being.
3 more seasons of that. That's a good deal for sure.
So that pretty much concludes in that top 50 players. When I was looking through some stuff here, one thing that I noticed it, but then I kind of forgot it. The fact is, looking through the stats here, that Patrick Eaves, he managed to finish 17th in the NHL in goals, and that is just remarkable. 32 goals in 79. I just figured I'd note that, like, 32 goals in 79 games for Patrick Eaves. That's that's the same amount of goals scored as Mark Scheifele, Jeff Carter, and Nazem Kadri. Like that, I don't know. To me, that just is incredible. He obviously played with good guys in Dallas. He was kind of that. They're not as good, but like Chris Kunitz to Sidney Crosby. Like, he played on the top line often, or in the top 6 so he got to play with quality players. But just the fact, anytime you can put up over 30 goals, that's a remarkable season.
I think he was playing more of a offensive role too, wasn't he? Unlike Kadri, who was the shutdown line, he still managed to put up over 30 goals.
Yeah,
and on the top line every night.
Yeah, and Kadri's obviously a better player than he is, but it's pretty remarkable. Like, that's, when you look at his history, I mean, he hadn't even put up numbers like that really
since his rookie season with the Senators.
With Ottawa, he put up 20 goals, and then he hadn't put up anything. Like 14 was his closest after that. But to me, 20 goals from a rookie, then it dropped off. Then putting up 32 goals rather is a good season regardless. 30 goals in the NHL nowadays is just, some say it's like a 40-goal season a few years ago. So it'll be interesting to see if he can come close to that this year with Anaheim.
He had great chemistry with Getzlaf in the playoffs too, and I mean, had he not been injured, there's a chance that Anaheim would have gotten past Nashville and potentially to the Stanley Cup final just simply because of added forward depth.
Yeah.
Lots of notable players outside this top 50, and of course it's completely subjective. A lot of notable omissions there, including the aforementioned Shea Weber, slowing down, getting older on a big contract for the Montreal Canadiens, and plenty of other players merit a ton of consideration for this list. So the Hockey News always does a pretty good job, but everybody's going to have their differences of opinion. And for now, that wraps up tonight's episode of #Analysis Hockey Podcast. Next time, we'll be coming at you with team reviews for all 31 teams around the NHL. And what teams are in trouble and what teams are looking good bets to become Stanley Cup contenders. Have a good night.
Congratulations.